legendary. That is the only way to describe a piece of work like Attack on Titan. I don't think we'll ever get to experience again this level of hype, this level of critical acclaim, this level of attention within the anime community. Attack on Titan is truly cemented into history as one of the most beloved shows in the medium as well as pop culture itself. And November 3rd, 2023 is where its golden era ends. And how it ends is pretty goddamn controversial. I haven't seen a fan base so divided like this since The Last of Us Part 2.
I don't even want to play this game anymore.
There's a variety of opinions about the final episode, ranging from baseless hate to absolute S-tier dick riding. And I hate to be that guy, but my opinion is definitely more centrally aligned. I'm not trying to take that neutral standpoint to avoid backlash. I just genuinely think this ending is a mixed bag with both good and trash. However, after a long time spent on thinking about this, I think I can confidently say that I do not like this ending. But I want to admit there are some good things about it. As always, I think Mappa gives their A-game with the animation. Some of the scenes I'm going to discuss more in depth later on, but overall, I think the animation is splendid. Even the biggest Mappa hater cannot deny the spectacle on screen right now. That's some goddamn cinematography. And this too, with Falco weaving through arrows and the camera movement, oh my. I also think that CGI blended really well this time with 2D animation. Previously in like season 4, it was a bit wonky, but here it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot less noticeable. The attention to detail regarding the environment is something actually really interesting to me. The colossal skeletal setting of Eren's founding Titan form is not exactly a fucking white dog with red eyes. It's fucking huge. And I think there's a lot of symbolism here Isayama intended, but it's clear that the feeling associated with a gigantic shot like this is akin to something like dread. Eren's face is definitely inhuman, but uncannily recognizable. It's a really unsettling concept. Oh, and of course, the fucking giant ribs that just come out from his spine, it gives him the heebie-jeebies, bro. It does. And then we go under the entire structure. Light fades, the color turns warmer and darker, and it feels like a fever dream with these white titans hanging from the ceiling in this almost intoxicating gas near the bottom of the structure. The atmosphere Mappa is able to create is really impressive. Whereas Eren's skeleton was ethereal and like grand in an intimidating fashion, the paths is just space-like. It's kind of really hard to explain, but let me use a comparison. It kind of feels like the first encounter with Ash Lake in Dark Souls, an otherworldly location, something not meant for your eyes, the literal sands of time beneath your feet, and the Paths tree that also reminds me of the Erd tree from Elden Ring. It's so gorgeous, and I especially want to note the colors they use. I don't know if color grading is really the right term here because it's animation, but the color palette they use accentuates the atmosphere of the entire episode. Part of what makes the Paths so mystical is because of the eye-catching cyans and blues and indigos. The pale green used during the majority of the episode is a really tense color. Bro, just voice crack. I'm not cutting that out, bro. It's on the threshold between its bright and dark counterparts. During the Armin versus Eren debate, the contrast of the beautiful bright blue sky and the blood-filled pond is just a great juxtaposition and reinforces multiple themes in the story, but we'll get to that later. The soundtrack is also fucking fantastic. Not one scene is accompanied with a bad track. Every shot is amplified with the perfect music playing. When Levi is fucking shit up in the beginning of the episode, he's doing so with this epic-ass soundtrack that just makes you want to give a standing ovation. The many scenes of the rumbling contains this devastating orchestral piece that is utterly hopeless. It feels like the theme of the apocalypse. And of course, when Jean leaps off of Reiner and starts to go crazy, this shit starts playing. A goddamn cheat code of an OST. This shit can literally make anything, immediately grand and action-packed. The pacing is one of the most striking things I noticed while watching. I was actually shocked that they gave nearly every scene the appropriate amount of screen time, and a sizable amount of said scenes are given more time in the anime than the actual manga. The voice acting from every character is honestly stellar. Bravo to the cast of this anime, bro. They just done so well, bro. The pure desperation, relief, fear, shock, it's all expressed amazingly by the cast. The blood-curdling cry from Armin as he realizes Eren's death is heartbreaking. The way it was performed, it was so awkward and uncomfortable, which reflects the emotional turmoil he was in. Eren's down bad monologue he had about Mikasa sounded fucking whiny and bitchy, which was the point, and hearing it actually made me like the scene more. It's a raw expression of Eren as a human, and the vulnerability kinda got lost in the manga, again because I feel the pacing was so bad. Speaking of which, let's actually talk about that scene. In its manga equivalent, the last conversation between Armin and Eren was completely atrocious in my opinion. The pacing was terrible, it high-key assassinated both of their characters, and it just didn't make a lot of sense. However, the episode actually took some time to extend and flesh out that conversation, and I think it's overall a good improvement. I like the stylistic choice to fill the earthly footsteps of the rumbling with pools and pools of blood. It's more visceral and gritty than his manga counterpart. It's the complete opposite of that perfect blue sky. I think the scene demonstrates a lot of great writing and also a lot of bullshit. Eren's motivation to become a scout in season 1 is to 1. To get revenge on the Titans, and 2. To see the outside world to obtain freedom. He believed the simple fact that he exists means that he is or should be free. As for revenge, I mean, it's kinda obvious why he wants revenge. However, both of these motives are challenged by the end of season 3 and downright destroyed by the end of the first quarter of season 4. The truth of the Titans is that they're human, they're Eldians, they are his people who suffered just as much as he did. Okay, so maybe Eren should shift his targets on Marley, right? They're the ones that persecuted the Eldians for ages, who used Paradise Island as a dumping site for criminal Eldians, and who generally made them out to be devils. Well, no, because what season 4 spends its entire runtime on is showing that they too are human. The season humanizes the Marleyans, showing that they have their own hopes and dreams and loved ones, all things they share with Eren. So where does this leave Eren? Without the main driving forces behind his actions, where's the logic behind his moves? Well, there is none. Eren is only human, and when he loses his reasons for living and moving forward, he becomes irrational and inhuman. And this mantra of keep moving forward is just another way of blinding himself from the truth. Instead of actually using his brain and taking the time to really sit there and consider his options, he chooses to brute force his way to his desires. Now, let's not pretend that Isayama pulled this concept off perfectly. We'll talk about the shit ton of problems I have with this later on, but I will endorse some parts of it. It's a really fascinating character arc. We see Eren transform from someone we can emphasize and root for to a broken shell of his former self. Like, quite literally fractured. He's a fractured human. The story is no longer told from his eyes, and his thoughts and emotions are unknown to us. This progression is really goddamn interesting. Also like how the story portrays Eren as a child, sometimes literally, but mostly mentally. Contrary to the tough and lone wolf exterior he puts up, this act of genocide is akin to a child's temper tantrum. He even says himself that he's a big ass idiot who just got his hands on power. I like that. I like that irony. I like that even though he seems more mature and is older, he is still that immature brat. However, do not get me wrong. This act of genocide, this mass murder that he does is insane, okay? Let's just get this straight. It's not irrational. It's not illogical. It's just flat out insane. And I think that is the biggest flaw of Eren's character arc in the way he was handled in this final episode, as well as just the final arc in general. Isayama fucked up. He intended Eren to be this super deep and complex individuals that turn to the dark side, and he is at the beginning of the season. But there's a difference between irrationality and insanity, and Eren runs across the line of insanity. Also, I don't know why Isayama keeps trying to drive this narrative home that Eren had no choice because it was destiny. I hate that concept. That fucking sucks because it just invalidates every effort Eren's put in. And I don't care if it's, important to the story and the whole grand narrative that it's trying to spell out. It's not satisfying for his character. Eren saying that he tried to test different things to achieve different outcomes, but it always ended in this one. What does that even mean? What test? Why does Isayama try to show us what exactly he's talking about, the different timelines that Eren experiences and tests this out? I don't understand why he does it. I honestly think that Eren's character here is kind of assassinated completely, even with the changes. Speaking of the changes, let's talk about that and how it relates to Armin. There's a lot more here than in the manga. In the manga, after Eren reveals the effects of the rumbling, there were 3 pages showcasing Armin's reaction. 3 fucking pages. And Isayama low-key assassinated Armin's character with this dog shit line. In this scene, Armin actually panics and angrily questions him. This is the actual type of reaction that you would expect him to have. Because guess what? That's in his character to do that. Of course he would be angry. It's fucking Armin. But the scene takes one step further. They show Armin taking responsibility with Eren, arguing that if he never told him about the wonders of the outside world, Eren wouldn't have done any of this. This is a dumbass argument from him, but I think that is kind of the point. My interpretation is that Armin Armin's not trying to justify Eren's decision, nor really take all the blame onto himself, but is trying to ease Eren's suffering, to go with him to hell, to not leave him alone. Of course, the decision is also partly due to his guilt for, bombing whole places, but as Armin says, ever since that fateful scene in season 3, Eren alone was cursed with the ability to see the future. And the hug they share, some powerful shit, like, I'm gonna be honest. However, I can't lie when I say that this scene didn't really change the major problems of the ending. Sure, there were some minor changes that did help to flesh out some of the characters and explore them more than the original, but overall, I still don't like this conversation too much. It kind of does fuck with both of their characters, especially Eren's. But it's an improvement, and I do appreciate that. All right, let's finally move on to the next topic. I think the best animated scene in this entire episode is definitely this one take continuous scene near the climax where our short King Levi is going absolutely nuts. Levi sliding here gives some similar vibes as that Levi versus the whole gang scene. Mappa cooked here, Levi cooked here. This shit was fire. Reiner quickly became one of my favorite characters in season 4, and I think his fate at the end here is a great close to his arc. Reiner suffers from a severe case of survivor's guilt and low self-esteem. The magnitude of his story is too great for this little segment of the video, but all his issues stem from the crushing expectation of his mom to become a hero. And so for his mom, at the very end of the series, when he's no longer the armored titan, no longer the warrior she forced him to be, to say, "You are enough for me," damn, it just validates every effort he has put in for her, and is a really sweet way to close his arc. Also think that Levi's encounter with the scouts is gold. I mean, I'm not sure why everyone's able to see their dead homies, but that last salute, bro, and the tears running down his face, shit, bro, it hit, bro. Speaking of Levi, I think his ending is extremely underwhelming, and I love it, actually. Levi, to me, serves as a foil to Eren's obsessiveness, whereas Eren is willing to shed everything, his future, his relationship, his humanity, in order to achieve his goals. Levi is literally always shackled down by the weight of his people. Even Erwin, the comrade he trusts the most, admits his primary objective is to learn the truth of the basement. Levi is the only scout that truly encapsulates the phrase, "dedicate your heart." There are no secret agendas, no grand dream behind his every movement. He is, probably in Eren's twisted eyes, a slave to the dead, to history. And yet, he, unlike Eren, retains his humanity, his morality. Levi is the most human character in the entire series, because he, not once, has ever compromised his morals for his own gain. He lives with humanity's crushing weight on his shoulders and keeps moving forward. And his ending here should feel underwhelming because he kind of just, chills out in a wheelchair. And I think that's actually perfect for him. It's a bittersweet ending to his arc. He's dedicated his heart for the future right in front of him, and I think he deserves some simple peace. And yeah, Levi, such a good character, one of my favorite characters in the series. And I'm glad that Isayama didn't fuck up him. But one thing that he definitely didn't fuck up here is Zeke. Zeke is a character that grew on me immensely through the course of the story. Again, he deserves a video of his own, but his backstory, his beliefs, his twisted personality easily makes him one of the best characters in the series. Zeke is a person whose ambitions causes him to lose track of what is truly important to him. Initially someone clouded in mystery, bit by bit, Isayama constructs his character from the ground up, as a victim of child neglect, as well as exposure to radicalist ideals at a young age. He becomes a ruthless individual who seeks to rid every Eldian of the ability to reproduce, thereby saving future generations from ever needing to experience misery. However, when he confronts Armin in the final act of the series, the nihilism that constricts his soul is washed away, and what's left is the simple act of playing catch. In other words, life meant so much more to Zeke than he thought. Sure, the fact that it took this wee little conversation to change a lifetime full of nihilistic tendencies is a bit illogical and convenient, but hey, I still think it's great character development. And his death, when he simply admires the beauty of the shot, the value of the small things like the weather. It's a dog outside barking. I'm gonna need to shut that motherfucker up. Anyways, is where his story ends. And I think that shit is beautiful, man. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. Ymir's love plot is complete horseshit to me. Look, I tried for a long time to understand this plot point, but I just can't wrap my head around it. Firstly, I will admit that having Mikasa's love for Eren play a large part in the narrative and not just be there for weird fan service or whatever is pretty fucking cool. However, Ymir loving Fritz despite him being her slave master, treating her like a tool, making her kids eat her corpse, etc, 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 just doesn't sit right with me. And how this parallels with Mikasa's loves, I don't know. Maybe I'm illiterate. And even if I did get it, the themes of love being the ultimate focus of the climax of the series rather than the established freedom theme feels kind of cheap. Honestly, the whole love narrative that Isayama sets up just kind of feels shoehorned in there. And yeah, I didn't really like it. Another thing I didn't really like was Historia's lack of importance the entirety of season 4. Her whole pregnancy storyline is teased to be something relevant and is completely shelved away for some random reason, I don't know. Also thought her parallels with Ymir were so fucking obvious, it just didn't pay off at all. Like I said before, Mikasa playing an actual role in the story is awesome, and her last scene is nothing short of beautiful. I know we are talking about production, but this ending song is fucking gorgeous. Provokes a deep sense of grief and loss that Mikasa in this moment is feeling the weight of. The visuals are stunning, so vibrant, so gorgeous, like a painting in motion. And the bird wrapping the scarf around her. God damn, bro, shit is beautiful, man. A really good send-off to the epilogue, which honestly did not hit the way it was intended to, at least for me. Instead of being this bittersweet ending showcasing the cycle of hatred or whatever, it just felt super hollow. I don't know what the perfect ending is for a story like this, but I at least know this ain't it, chief. Firstly, the open-endedness of how the conflict with Paradise ended is something that I do not like. One of the final scenes of the episode is our heroes on a ship to Paradise Islands as ambassadors to push for peace, and yet we don't actually get to see this discussion. I think the political aspects of season 3 and 4 are a huge part of their identity, and so for the end of the politics in the story to not be shown kinda sucks, and I wish I was included in the epilogue. I think if more was shown, it would have made those final scenes during the credits more impactful. Also had mixed feelings regarding said credit scenes. On one hand, having the future generations again go to war despite the absence of Titans perpetuates the series' themes of the cycle of hatred. But on the other hand, wasn't the entire point of Gabi's character was to showcase the ending of that cycle? Doesn't these scenes contradict the statement her arc made? Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't really like these last scenes in the context of the narrative, and I share similar feelings for the very last scene of the series. But despite all the negativity I expressed for this episode during this video, when the concluding the end screen popped up, a wave of emotion washed over me like no other. I've been watching this show since 2017 when season 2 dropped, and we are finally here. The rockiness of season 4 might spoil the entire series for some, but to me, I still think this is a phenomenal series. A piece of media that defined an entire medium, an entire era. And this is the end of that era.